I've only got two children, so we get Yes, sir.
Welcome to Rotary Corporal Green. We're so glad to have you with us today. We hope your holiday season's going well. Hope everybody, I talk to people and some haven't started their Christmas shopping yet, and some of you finished in October. So somewhere here and there, we hope you get where you're going. But I hope you feel a sense of peace during the holidays, and I hope you and your family have a wonderful Christmas together. So every Wednesday special, but today is particularly special. It's not often we have a former governor or a U.S. Secretary of Agriculture or a Chancellor of the University System of Georgia. So we're really honored to have you with us today. We appreciate you taking time to be here. We're going to say an invocation and then a pledge, and then we'll move forward with the program. But first, that's Mayor Willie Edmondson, if you would lead us in an invocation.
Let's bow our heads. Oh, gracious God, our Father, we come today with our hearts uplifted to you with thanksgiving, thanking you for being so good to us. God, we thank you for blessing our city. We thank you for blessing our country and our state. But God, we lift you up today in praise and glory and honor because we want you to know that we put you first in everything that we do. God, we ask that you continue to guide our country, guide our state, but most especially, God, guide our city. Help us to be the men and women that you would have us to be, that would be pleasing in your sight. This do we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mayor. Please join me in the pledge. You may be seated. Very important to have a number of guests with us today. Some of you travel a pretty good distance to be here, and some of you are local. But just know you're always welcome at LaGrange Rotary. We'd love to have you back in the future. I'm going to ask Kelsey to introduce our guest. If you want to stand.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to introduce our guests. Please stand when your name is called. Our first guest is Ben Smith. Next, we have Christina Pawlowski, Kathy Hunt, Kevin Dunn, Elaine Clements, Adam Stone, Richard Freeman, Baron Wood, Gail Honeycutt, Mark Foster, Kim Myers, Brandon Brooks, Russell Crutchfield, Tyler Baker, Kat and David Jenkins, Stuart Rayfield, Tracy Alcombe, and Judy Mira. Welcome.
Yeah, you're always welcome. We have great programs, not always this great, but they're usually pretty good. But again, we'd love to have any of you back. And if you're interested in joining or becoming members, let one of us know. We do have some birthdays to share. First of all, Scott Landon, his birthday is December 14th. Dee Horton is on December 15th. And Mitch Key is December 16th. If you would keep Mitch and his family in your prayers. He lost his grandfather this week, so please be thinking about him. Club member anniversaries, Dale Jackson's been with us 6 years. And then we have a couple wedding anniversaries. Shannon Gavin Johnson has been married for 9 years. And David Skinner, 29 years, congratulations. Yes, a lot to celebrate there. Do have a handful of announcements I want to share with you. First of all, a number of you signed up to help with the Salvation Army this weekend. So if you don't know your spots and you have questions about that, please ask Barbara. We're going to have a social in the months ahead. So, we said we'd have great fellowship, and we want to do that. So please mark your calendars for January 11th. So we're going to have a social, some appetizers, and some beverages at Beacon Brewery Lounge. So plan on 5:30. We're going to have at least a happy hour together. There's trivia afterward if some of you want to pull together a trivia team. So just if you would mark January 11th and let Kelsey know. You'll have an opportunity next week to let her know as well, but let Kelsey know if you're going to be able to join us. Barbara wanted me to mention the sleighs on your table or for the food closet, so please make donations. Definitely want to keep people who are struggling top of mind and make sure we support them. We do have a board meeting after our meeting today, so about 11:10 or so, we'll gather over here for everybody who needs a makeup or for anybody who's interested in finding out what's going on at the board level. Please remember, December 22nd and January 3rd, we won't have a meeting, but we'll jump right back into our programs after that. And then our district conference is going to be on March 21st through the 24th. So Have just a couple of minutes for happy dollars. Love to hear what's going well in your lives and what's going well in the community. Yeah.
I stand to personally welcome Senator, Governor, Secretary, Chancellor. I'm not sure which word to use. I want to quickly comment on the strategy of Governor Perdue. You came into the House caucus, Republican House caucus, and you said, okay, guys, this was 2001. You've been pestering me to run. I'm going to run, but every one of you in this room are going to support me. And you kept track. And the other thing, I could tell stories for a long time. Pleasure of serving with it. As a representative, 4 years of being the governor. But I wanted to just comment on your statement. I watched you a long time, and I sure liked what I saw in the state. Had the opportunity to have Bible study time in your press room. Foster parent. I just have such respect for you and your wife. Thank you.
I wanted to thank the mayor and the city team for pulling off the mayor's gala last weekend. I thought it was just a wonderful example of pulling the community together, and it seemed very successful, and I hope you all do it again and again and again. Any other happy dollars to share? If not, we're going to have a program on service and public service, and I think it's really appropriate to have Representative Randy Hicks come up and speak to us, because he's certainly served our area and our region and our state with distinction for many years. And Randy, if you don't mind, please come up and introduce our speaker.
Thank you. You know, if there were a document somewhere that had the list of people in Georgia that need no introduction, our speaker today, his name and his picture would be at the top of that document. But I'm going to take just a moment and tell you a little bit about Dr. Tony Perdue. Now, I've never called him doctor, I always called him governor, but he is the 14th chancellor of the University System of Georgia. That's it since April the 1st of 2022. He oversees 26 public colleges and universities with a $9.8 billion annual budget, 48,000 faculty and staff, and more than 340,000 students. Prior to becoming chancellor, Perdue was the 31st secretary of the U.S. Department of Agriculture from 2017 to 2021. I best knew him when he served his 2 terms as governor of the state of Georgia. He was the 81st governor of the state of Georgia. Prior to that, he was in the Georgia Senate, and he chaired the Senate Higher Education Committee and eventually became Senate President Pro Tem. Of local interest, he had a lot to do with bringing Kia to Georgia and bringing Kia to West Georgia. So, Governor, I know how much input you had and the things you did to make that happen, and I know everyone in this room will thank you for that. During his time in office, he had a very strong focus on education, and where I saw that and worked a little bit with his office was with workforce development. He was the governor when I had the opportunity to carry the college and career pathways legislation, which he supported, that helps get our people trained to work at the Kias and those people, those industries in our state. He was born in Perry, Georgia. He was raised on a farm in Bonaire, and Perdue was a veterinarian and an agribusiness owner who graduated from Warner Robins High School and earned his doctorate of veterinary medicine degree from the University of Georgia. He is also a veteran, serving 4 years in the U.S. Air Force. He's married to the former Mary Ruff, also a UGA graduate. They have 4 children, 14 grandchildren, and have served as foster parents for 8 children awaiting adoption. And of all the things I've told you about the man, I think that one fact speaks volumes about who he is. Now, while he has served in many capacities with many titles, he will always be Governor Perdue to me. So please give a warm LaGrange Road welcome to Governor Sonny Perdue.
asked me, what should I call you? And my standard response is, you call me what my daddy called me on the home, going home from the hospital, Sonny Boy. So, with it. Mayor, thank you for that invitation. Driving in with a young man who, drove down with me this morning, he said, I've never been to LaGrange. This seems pretty nice. So, it looks like you're doing well. I told him, I affirmed that it was. So a great community here. Randy, good to be back with you. I know that you probably don't miss the legislature as much as we miss you, but, I think you had just been elected and after I was maybe elected for my second term there. So, I've always appreciated, working with you. Jeff, your comments, anyone who knows Jeff Brown knows that he doesn't say anything he doesn't mean. So, they were very well received and I want to thank you. I always enjoyed, Jeff, your written missives there that I would read and respond. They were always very thoughtful about that and I enjoyed serving with you as well. And, it's good to be here in LaGrange, obviously in the Callaway area, and, with, the foundation you're holding now, Fuller Callaway, who established, the Callaway Foundation, was part of this, 100th anniversary of Road, as I understand here. So it's a great legacy. This whole community has a great legacy. And what you're carrying on now is even more important. We've got, it looks like by some of your guests, for those of you who don't know and recognize some of these, I think they hired the USD, University System hired them to come in and be the town crier. Several of our university personnel here, hopefully to support, not to throw tomatoes. Anyway, Christina, with our University System Foundation, is with us here today, and the Callaway Foundation is a supporter of our University System Foundation. The purpose, obviously, while we've got a great Hope Scholarship that supports our students across the country with a 3.0 GPA going to school, we've got other needs and needs-based scholarship in our foundation and supported by great institutions like the Callaway Foundation have been very generous and supportive in that way. It allows students sometimes to continue. When we find that students don't continue completion to a diploma, many times it is financial. And it's amazing. Sometimes it only takes a few $100s or $1,000 that can help them get over the hump and get that diploma, get that degree. So that's very, very important. I'm hopeful to be here today. Obviously, I have had a lot of opportunities. We're really very blessed family perspective, but God's given me a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things in that way. But I told people when I came back from Washington, thinking really my public career was over, having been Secretary of Agriculture, I signed into LinkedIn. It allows you to put a profile in there. And my profile was born a dirt farmer, trying to come up with a job, but never could escape. I was going back to the farm in the fields. And then the Board of Regents called and this job came up. I figured in an educational system like the University System of Georgia, that Board of Regents might expect something a little more erudite than that profile. And I put in Chancellor of the University System of Georgia, possibly the most impactful job I've ever had. And I really sincerely meant that, believe that. In our interview, I talked about that, about how important education is generally for a state. And I submit to you, we've been really blessed, certainly in the last few years, over economic development issues and announcements, and job creations and others. You mentioned Kia, obviously, see that's kind of the gift that keeps on giving here in the West Georgia region, and not only West Georgia, but you also see they've gone over the other side of the state now. So the relationships that we've developed have been very important. But really, the virtuous cycle really has to do
what's the big need in your businesses, whether you're in small business or large business or foundations or whatever? What's the missing link? What have people been crying for the last, couple of years? People. And that's talent. And that's the business that we're in. That's why it's so impactful. When you think about 340,000 plus people, students, young and not so young, matriculating in our university system of Georgia, the ability to influence those young people and guide them and direct them and educate them and prepare them for life and careers and it's pretty amazing that way. Stuart Wakefield here was just recently announced this last year as president of Columbus State. She gets to participate in that on a hands-on kind of basis. I have a little removal for the students, but I still enjoy visiting on campuses around there with Russell at West Georgia and others to come and to visit and see the impact that the university system is making on lives one by one. It's as a pastor, Randy, it's kind of almost like evangelism. You change lives one by one. Education is the same way, really. The impact you can make and the change, and really all of you who are maybe educators in here, the joy and the magic of watching that light come on the rheostat of the bulb come on, and just you can let it flip over, but you just kind of see it, the dim that's coming out, and it's a pretty amazing thing being in education. For really a career and a life and prosperity. And what we are, nationally, higher education, university systems have come under threat really now. What is the value? Is there still value in education? As much as you hear that, even from well-educated people, I want to just share with you the data and the facts are that it's still $1 million deal. While our young people today who come out of high school have a lot of choices. They may have never had a lot of money, and they look at the offer of a $20 or $25 an hour job and say, why should I go pay somebody to go to school when I can make this kind of money? Those are tough choices. But over a career, the statistics still show that the lifetime earnings of someone with a 4-year degree is going about $1 million more than someone with a high school degree. So while young people often have instant gratification, we have to persuade them and convince them that the long-term view is healthier if they stay. And frankly, the good news with all of our online education today is they can do both. They can work and take that job and really go to school with all the opportunities that our institutions are affording them now in order to do that. So I know this club, and the other thing we're doing, when you think about training, we're training educators to educate the future as well in our K-12 system. I'm aware that you all have had a big emphasis on literacy here, and that's important. If young people can't learn how to read, they can't learn how to work. That is the essence of that. So we combine with our professional standards, and we found really sometimes when you look under the hood, you see things are not the way you would want that way. We were not doing a very good job in our colleges of education, focusing on the science of reading and making sure our education students and graduates were prepared to teach young people how to read by the 3rd grade. So we have a professional standards commission that accredits our educators, and we work with them to make sure those standards align with how can we in our university system train our teachers to teach young people how to read by the 3rd grade. Literacy is important, and I applaud a group like your Rotary Club here putting emphasis on literacy, because that's so important. I remember Governor Miller's wife, Shirley, that was her thing. And that's when many of the technical schools had come back and got your GED and those kind of things. So it was very important, because that's really changing the the perspective and the opportunity people would have, going forward in that regard. And I'm just delighted to be here to talk to you about. Randy mentioned our 26 public institutions. We are so blessed in so many ways that 340,000 plus students in the state. I was able early on in my Senate career, Randy, to chair the Higher Education Committee. Governor Miller had just been elected governor when I came into the state Senate at that period of time. I think I watched him and learned from him. He had actually been a university professor up at Young Harris and understood the power of higher education. He also understood something else that we're benefiting from today with announcements is that the confluence of higher education and economic development, I think it's a virtuous cycle that way. Because Kia came and around that time, when I was governor, companies would come and say, how much are you going to pay us per job to bring our business, our companies to Atlanta or to Georgia that way? What's the incentive you're going to pay? And that was just where you had to pay to play in that period of time. We didn't make those rules, but that's what was going on. Do you know what they ask now? Where we're going to get the people, where we're going to get the skill sets, where we're going to get the educated people to run these sophisticated machines and this technology that we have in our companies and manufacturing. That's what they want to know. Guess what? We're in that talent business. And that's why it's so important. That's why I call it a virtuous cycle, because as we educate more accomplished people in technology and all the skill sets, cybersecurity, and all the different degrees that are available there now, that feeds an economy of Georgia that continues the thrust forward, moving forward with providing other tax revenue and benefits that we need in a growing state that way. And then that just throws off, again, revenue more to invest in education, both K through 12, technical education, as well as higher education. So it's a real delight, David, to be involved in a sector that kind of is a revolving virtuous cycle of contributing to the benefit of Georgia overall. And we know that an educated citizenry makes for a more solid democracy as well. As we educate people, they can make better decisions about the policies they want, the people they want, and that going forward. So those are the kind of benefits and the sort of joy that I get out of this job as we try to make it the most efficient and effective place we can be. Our role in the central office at the university system is chancellor. What does a chancellor do? My role is really, I report to a board of 19 members. The governor appoints a board of regents there. And they, back years ago, constitutionally, the board of regents was set apart from the state. Well, we're always dependent upon Randy and David and funding, the block funding over the formula funding that comes to help fund that. The board of regents and I as chancellor have to allocate that among our institutions. There's a formula funding by earnings that way. But my role is simply to empower, to help to choose the right leaders for these institutions. We've seen a lot in the news recently about 3 presidents of universities, right? And it's a pretty tough job. I'm glad people like Stuart Rayfield will still want to do that because it's a tricky job. They got a lot of constituencies they have to please, and primarily the students. Our focus are the students in that way, and that's where we want to make sure they're getting where the value is, irrespective of what the public thinks. We want to make our students make sure they're getting a value. Along those lines, I was able to visit Stewart's campus a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago now, and saw this cybersecurity course that they had that are empowering people to come out in a very short time in a high impact job and have salaries that are really needed there with TSYS, global payments, and Yesterday, we were speaking to the transaction processor. Do you know in Georgia, about 75% of credit card, debit card processing is done in our state? About 75%. And they need people social engineers who are designing those programs and those kind of things. And they need protection. You don't want your credit card information hacked, do you? And that's why the cybersecurity is so important. They're graduating young people who come out and probably have a job that approaches, if not over 6 figures there coming out of college. That means something for a family. Do you know what we say? We got a lot of first generation students in Georgia now and welcoming campuses. Young people that may have been told at one time in middle school that you're not college material. That way. We're focusing on those students because it's life changing. One at a time, it's life changing. Not only for them, but their whole family tree, their children and their grandchildren and their family tree will benefit from the effects of that education they get. And that's why it's so, so important as we go forward and make sure we're doing it in the right way. Our job, again, is to empower our local presence, our local campuses with resources, policies that make it better and easier for them to do the tough jobs that they have on campuses. I tell them, I tease them, I said, my job is to take care and to try to remove the barnacles of bureaucracy that we all have in large organizations that way. As a business guy, I'm doing my best, and Stuart will attest to this, that I'm doing my best to try to get our university system to run at the speed of business, right? And that's not an easy task. You might remember, or you may have a perception that academia does not respond to signals like the market does occasionally. And we're trying to make that more sensitive. In fact, we're trying to go out, our vision statement for our university really talks about, we want to have community impact. We want to have competitiveness. We want to have student achievement of graduation and making sure their completing in there. But our role as a university system is to contribute to the economy of Georgia so that Georgia gets a value, and our state gets a value, and that does not only the state, but as our graduates graduated some of these special degrees out there, they're impacting things that will impact the world. Georgia Tech, you might know, has a lot of relationships with the Department of Defense, national security, NSA, a lot of gee whiz kind of things I can't even know about, even though I've got a security clearance. They can't tell, I don't have a need to know, but they're doing it and doing creation of ideas and programs and software and issues that literally help protect us as a country in that regard. So that's how deep and wide our university system is. And it's a real honor to be able to help to lead that system, working with our board of regents and our presidents there to make an impact on our state that is lasting. The good thing about it is education is something that really can't be taken away from you, right? You can't lose those rights of training and what you've learned. And we used to have a chancellor who said, I kind of like this phrase. He said, education is what's left when you forgot everything you've learned. Think about that. That's pretty powerful. That's the osmosis that occurs on campuses there of learning how to critical thinking, problem solving, conflict resolution, working as a team. Those are the kind of things we can teach math and language and English and history and those kind of things. But our employers tell us they want people who can think. They want people who can innovate. They want ideas, not just automatons of doing what they're told. They want people who can generate more knowledge by the knowledge they have, putting that together in their businesses, both large and small, to help us do that. So that's why higher education is so important, and that's why I am excited to be where I am. I never thought I would be here, but in fact, I'll tell you a cute story. Back when I was governor, Randy may remember, we were looking for money everywhere in a balanced budget state. We were losing revenue, sometimes double-digit revenue there. We had to make some tough decisions that period of time over priorities and how you allocated the money. When I was governor, I noticed that the Board of Regents had a nice house in Buckhead for the chancellor. And I began to question, why do you need that? So we made them sell the house for the chancellor in budget. So I lead in a double wide now. But anyway, policies have consequences, don't they? In that regard. That was the right thing to do then and the right thing to do now. Every single dollar and cents we could to go to the transfer of knowledge, the generation of knowledge among our students and from our universities in order to do that. So that's why I'm excited to be there now, and hopefully we continue to progress and move our state along. I believe that education is the key for continued prosperity for our state. I'm a believer that if you look at Georgia demographic changes, we've got New York and California, Texas, and Florida. We won't be in that top four, but after that, you've got Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. We're going to be the 5th largest state in the country. In not too distant future, number 5. And you think about that. It's like I heard Lannis Barrett, I mean, you may know Lannis, and I said, Lannis, why do you think we're going to be growing? He said, you ever heard anybody retire to the north? And we retired to LaGrange and to Sea Island and Thomasville and Atlanta and Dahlonega and many beautiful places in our state. We need to be prepared for that. And a robust higher education system. The other thing I'll mention, fortunately, is that we have one of the best governance systems in our state as well for higher education. As I told you, the Board of Regents is constitutionally separated from the General Assembly and aside from funding, the General Assembly can't come in and talk about this professor can't teach that or can't teach that, can't hire and fire. So there's a really great delicate separation there between our public funders and the Board of Regents there. But it gives us the opportunity to do things in an innovative and creative way that we need to do in our higher education system that makes a real sense there. But our responsibility is still to the state and to the prosperity of the state through developing the kind of people with the skill sets that will help to grow this economy and be the kind of state that we want in the future going forward. So I just want to thank you for having me out here today. I know that you didn't expect me. I brought about an hour and a half worth of notes. Staff did a great job writing all these. I'm not going to use that one. Randy and the others, and I'd be happy if there are specific questions that any of your members would be interested in. I have talked about some of the things they'd like to hear about. That usually happens. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Mr. Chancellor, I just want to talk a little bit about Alvin Augusta, and we talk about effective, efficient education, our partnership with Wellstar out there at the University Hospital was such a great partnership to develop our medical workforce, leadership, and facilitate that, and get that done for the state of Georgia.
Well, I appreciate that because it was not without some degree of concern. The bottom line was we were doing a wonderful job educating physicians at Medical College of Georgia. We were doing a horrible job running a hospital. And if you got in a hospitalist in here today or executives in a hospital, that's a tough job too. Running a hospital profitably is a really tough job. That was not our core competency there. And it became that over a period of time. shared with you all the real economic challenges of red ink that we'd had over building up over years. We were really close to insolvency with the Medical College of Georgia having a hospital. So it was imperative that we did that. I appreciate so much that you all recognizing that, even with the limited information we can provide and supporting that effort. But I certainly appreciate that. The partnership really got consummated and signed in September. And if you say you believe in the thing that no news is good news, it's good news over there. So to hear from the issues at the campus, from Dr. Keel, the president, and the community, as well as Wellstar, that the digestion is going extremely well between the two. And we look forward to that continuing. But I appreciate very much you mentioned that. Many times things that we do are not necessarily applauded, but appreciate that.
Other questions, really?
I've been trying to figure out how to ask this because I don't want to be disrespectful. It's not a disrespectful question, but and I am a graduate of Georgia, being proud of that we've done so much in America. But my question is, when you look at the name of the student body in the university system, and you look at the name of the board of regents, well, you report to me, they don't report to me, so I'm asking you about it. They don't hear each other. The board of regents is pretty heavily named compared to the student body of all the institutions. And I was just curious, is there a game plan of any sort to move in the direction of having the student body be able to look up to the board of regents and see themselves?
Well, that's a good question. Obviously, you know, the governor appoints all the boards of the board of regents, and you appoint people that you're familiar with and have confidence that they can make those kind of decisions that way. We've got, I guess, out of the 19, a couple of three female members. We've got 2 African-American members. Frankly, the relationship and the conversation, I think if you could sit in on board of regents meetings, both those that are executive session and well, I think you'd be really pleased with what you hear in that regard. I think those considerations are there. Certainly from my position, not being the governor, I don't try to influence who I report to in that regard. But I can tell you that those issues, other than just a miracle, the issues that you may be concerned about are definitely on the minds of all those regents in that way. And it doesn't take necessarily a specific gender or a specific race in order to address those things that are, for the first gen students, the underrepresented students and all that. I could tell you statistics here all afternoon long, but I think you'd be very impressed with how we're making progress for representing all of Georgia and our university systems. Even though by your own characterization, you may not think the Board of Regents looks that way. I think from a functional policy perspective, that definitely is the case.
I have time for one more question. Anybody? Jake?
As Secretary of Ag and being from Georgia, agriculture is so big in Georgia, but it's also so big in around the country. How different was it being Secretary of Ag versus running the state where agriculture is number one industry?
So that's a great question. Usually when it starts off, the question is, when you were Secretary of Agriculture, what was he like? A better question.
We will take a follow-up.
Interestingly, to kind of sort of answer that first question, I'm not sure because he didn't know a lot about agriculture or whatever, but he literally left me alone. I was able to hire and recruit all 8 undersecretaries. We had 8 divisions, as well as the deputy secretary. And so from that standpoint, it was a job for me. And the one instruction I got was, you take care of our farmers that way. being from Georgia, you may recognize there's still some national prejudice against Georgia, the Southeast, when it comes to the nation as a whole. And they don't recognize that Georgia, number one industry is agriculture. In fact, the chairman, Senator Grassley, who became a good friend from Iowa, when my name was bandied about being Secretary of Agriculture, he made the comment in the press that we need a Secretary of Agriculture from north of the Mason-Dixon line. I'm not sure you can define where that is, but anyway, his definition would have been Iowa. Because the previous Secretary of Agriculture had been from Iowa, and he didn't want to give that up. But we became good friends because I think he saw in me, I made it a point to visit all 50 states, and I made it within 15 months. And what I found, I gained a better appreciation for agriculture as a whole. You know, when I say California, you may have a different opinion of California, but that Central Valley is literally a Garden of Eden that way, with wonderful people that are no different than you and I. And what I found was ag people pretty much across the country, all 50 states, including Hawaii and Alaska, which I visited, were not a lot different from Georgia people in that way, in that value. And I came to realize the genuine affinity and affection that President Trump had for farmers and ranchers was born out of the fact that in that, like they embody the American spirit, laying it all on the line every year, and if you crash, get back up and do it again the next year. You have a bountiful harvest, thank the Lord, and go back and do it again. So that's what I came to appreciate. But honestly, when I would leave the Oval Office, many times, I bet there weren't, a handful of times when I would get up to leave, and he didn't say, Sonny, how my farmers doing? 17 and 18, and it was kind of tough on the farm nationally that way. Prices and inputs were up, prices were down. And I'd say, well, it's kind of tough, Mr. President. He said, well, you take care of it, that kind of thing. So I enjoyed the job. It is different, certainly. It does, we have 110,000 employees worldwide, but it is really about people. It's about living before people in the way that you want, showing them by example what real public service is all about. I think we gained a reputation as a secretary, as a USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, that we were concerned about our job because it affected the lives of people all over the country. And I believe food security is a national issue. And I'm so grateful that people still will risk their incomes, risk their equity, risk their lives out here to create the food that we enjoy today in that regard. So it was a real blessing for me to do that. And I learned skills there that I brought to university. Hopefully, to some degree, we all learn by those experiences, and we try to do that. But it's about leadership and associating with the right people in life that you want to help build their strengths and let them become more than they ever thought they could be.
Randy, if you have one more.
I'm just gonna ask one quick question. I know in your last term when I was in, we were really working hard to coordinate between technical college system of Georgia and university system, get credits transferred to those things. Is that effort still ongoing? I know it's working well at one time.
There's still articulation efforts going on in that regard. There's some concern a little bit about the technical college moving into the general education courses, English, math, and others. And that begs the question, really, how much higher education can we afford? Are we duplicating that, or is that all that for the benefit of that? It's hard for me to say you can get too much education, but obviously have to balance that with how much can you afford as well in that regard. So, but the articulation agreements are left to those local campuses and doing very well. Greg Dozier, who you remember, that was at OPB, and I put him over driver services. He was the guy that was responsible for you not having to wait 4 or 5 hours in the line for your driver's license renewal.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job. Because it's all for the benefit of the students in the state.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We're honored to have you. You know, I was hearing Randy in your bio, and most people, farmer, veterinarian, those are kind of lifetime achievements. But when you hear the personal and professional and public service, and even foster parents, you know, like a lot of you, I thought was, man, I gotta get to work, get to work. But just really appreciate your years in public service. How many in the room either went to a university system in Georgia or have children that have gone there? So big impact. I know for me, all three of mine have gone to university schools, and I'm just really grateful for you and your team and your group of presidents for your leadership. We're going to make a donation today in your honor to Polio Plus, which is Rotary's effort to eliminate polio worldwide. We do have some good programs coming up, so I hope you'll come back. So we do have one more program this year. It's going to be Zsa Zsa Hurd talking about our LaGrange Housing Authority next week. We won't meet for 2 weeks, and then we'll have on January 10th, we'll have Carol Naughton, the CEO of Purpose Built Communities. And then on January 17th, we'll have Donna Highland, the CEO of Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. So some good programs ahead. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to our guests. Please come back, and I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas season. Thank you.
Jay, how are you? Great, how are you feeling? All right. Then you're gonna leave it. Yeah. Are you gonna sit over here?
It's on my list now.
So I get to see the shortage when, you know. Show it.
To see you here, and I wish. I don't think that will be, you just come back.
What's the population of the ceiling? Yeah. Sad. So here's there. See, Jim, what's that Medicare? It's not safe. This is probably your state. Yeah.
I think that's starting to change. We're still rural for sure, but.
But you know, like for instance, yeah. I don't particularly have anything about stars.
And that's when I.
Are doing great.
See from the aerial view, what he does.
I think when it was all said and done, Wellstar was interested. When it started, they had a lot of takers, and then they dropped out one at a time.
They sell.
It was Wellstar pretty much, so they.
In
Wellstar took-
Yes, yes. It used to be. Several things working on. What was it? Yes, that was it. No, and Main Street. Yeah, they were.
That's terrible. That was, we took most of our stuff. We do the burns, we typically do. They had a little better stroke. Right.
And you take a lot to.
Well, not trying, but yeah.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. It's not, isn't it?
Here, right about, we had a total revenue of 100,000, total expenses of 98,000, so right there. Positive income, 2,000. Any questions on that? Not that I hear motion to approve the finance. No. Got a motion, second, all fair say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Mom.
President.
What?
In fact, I was thinking about it. Yes. I didn't want to get back to the down, like, the organization, but we. Remember.
Well, it's supposed to be big, what's supposed to be about, no, I hadn't found something. I hadn't talked to him Saturday night, but he was looking at one year. Thinking about people in mind.
And then. Take all the things, and that's probably big and we did it by people. And so maybe having a closing communion and and I don't. It's hard to be. Sure, but I have to get up and information and stuff. And make the way for that.
And then we need a second.
Thank you. Orientation. And it's funny because when I was looking back, down several for 2 years, and now I think. There's a lot that we can cover in orientation. And they took it down to 3 different things. High level, basically the ins and outs of Rotary, what the board does, and why we're having the community. That was sort of how we presented back on I. Kind of thought that from that we would get up and go through every single thing that we do. And make it fun. But I do find that today, who they participate because I'm thank you everybody for attending. And there is increased interest if you notice that who I think for sure that Susan had a district role. We can have her there, tribute to the spirit of Rotary. So certainly we need to have you there. And do a communication. Thank you. Talk about what we have about the future meeting. Or maybe they got us to use themselves. But that is that yeah, that's yeah, it's done. I think it's also very important for us to go into talking about things engaged, review, projects. What additional. Yes, for in for the weather thing. So the next year there's the three. Yeah. Well, we could just. Yeah.
Okay.
And that, and that point, in outline, second page, I think, example, that we would include that in something that we give out to everybody, is on the, our, volunteer opportunities and initiatives, I think, we probably have that, I think that, okay.
But, I mean, I know the community barber and I think, you know,
Yeah, I think that's something we put in there. I thought we just of what we do, expect with their engagement. So this might be really nice to do. And she did. And then I thought it was free, but bit. Everybody was talking. We have extra, have to bring the we've done. And then if we could go through and determine all the, I think it's each board is both of them. They probably everything. So the 31st of January is what we're running out there. So I can do a poll. And I think the question too, if we have them, do we? Maybe we can have it in 6 months. Or we can to change their but we need everybody everybody on the board to that to do it like that. Okay. Well, that would probably be the that. Yeah. Okay. And I think before it was before the meeting. But and after the meeting, it's going to be off for you. Maybe we go to the Monday before meeting or before the 31st or after. And the 24th is when we're in board meeting. It said we're going to be able to. We'll try and do it. Everything we can send that on you would share what you get. Well,
I really.
So get confirmation. Yeah. That is fine because they everything was out. Yeah. Thank you for bringing me.
Christmas school. They got about 10, grandfather got me what we call flex, southern sled. And about this tall, front wheel. So a death machine from the south. I was still telling the story of me heading down my way down the hill, across the street, and 2 cars doing this, and me going between. But I did. Yeah, just got to put her hair out. I remember the memory of me. And then from service perspective, still on the running for Rotary, is from that and the process of beginning the issuing the request for proposal to agencies. Scott, he's been in contact most recently with to look at stand.
Yeah, so Trey, I have to go back to John, but my request to Trey was exactly how much did we give away? And by our calculation, we were shooting for $10,000. As of this week, it is $10,000. So that's from run sign up, from people signing up to run, and sponsorships and other gifts. So Trey, on the same page, know that it funds are there. So yeah, to be able to put us to the
Yes, and if anybody wants a copy of that, again, I can send it to them, I have some hard copies here. I know this is a bit tight, but I don't see any sense in lingering and waiting. Timeline that I have now, and again, it is clear, it's January 1, would be when we would release this request for proposals. I can next week bring cards that would have, where it would be posted, so all they have to do is scan a QR code or enter web link and bring the proposal up, the directions go from there. We had settled on $5,000 gift grant and 2,500 grants. Again, I've got with me what they'll have to get to us to be able to get that. And those will come rolling in. Proposal submission deadline 1 month from now, February 1st. This is not long. We don't really want to grant, we'd like to see something where they can show what's going to happen with that. And then an anticipated date for award would be March 13th, Dr. Sister Park Day. Rotary here and something that will occur on an annual basis. We don't know the amount each year. It will be wonderful to see that growth. But incredible thanks to everyone who set up the plate. For a first year run, I think we did absolutely fabulous. The highest compliment standing people rate. Run. The runners really cool. I'm so grateful to have time, was a qualifying one, and next year I can hopefully be springboard to bring in even the big stuff. So if you want a copy of that, I will work. I've got some here. One other thing, and I'll give this a trip to look at, but around the corner, there is something that does have to do with literacy. There's a literary fee, and as we have embraced literacy as local cause, I'd love for Rotary to be able to have a team. We're trying to get schools involved in particular. We've got a team from up on the hill that's going to participate, and 3 of us, hopefully the most well-read Rotarians that we have, would be able to. So maybe that's a little bit, it's not a little hard, but a literary fee at Calvin Collins. And you know, there's not any huge crowd that comes in, but again, college is involved, and have paid for the high school. But I've got some trip to look at and maybe bring them to other sites. Thank you so much for all the support. With that, and we'll be able to. Okay. Well, that's meeting the end of the board, so we really appreciate it for the time. Any questions?
To continue to get for a time for about all that's in here. This year, we're down to 6 Glory County students. There are 2 seniors, there are 3 administrators, 1 tenth grade, so that's on the program. Process of reaching out to parents, bodies for a student update every year. What is again, driving to all the students. We feel we're doing questions for the grant presentation in also. Both at college and 2 high school groups are looking forward to going 34 and put Florida national citation, but we got a citation 34 this year. I have not seen any of our citations for the 3 groups. I put everything together, I put everything together, and so it's going to do it online. I do the other. So but I think the president. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Okay. Barbara's having some more procedures, so just we'll be thinking about you. Let us know if there's any.
No, just figure it out and we'll be good. And I'll be giving that is going on Saturday. Anyway. Yeah, that was very fun. We're still doing February. That yesterday with the groups. So I'm just order. Pay for
So I'm for that, so we got that too, okay.
That's right. Must have been out there, you said.
So we're gonna have a city clerk and other people that were, they were invited, not, I think we should. Somebody people come out there and talk about, I'm.
Speaker, because I will, I mean, here, on the speaker, so it's not really just, I'm. And I'm just gonna be at the word for ready for that. Ordering, we have to pop up the figure, so. It's better than the paper and so, yeah, there's a good, for great speakers. Yeah. Since often makes it sense,
It's all about this. Or next year, well.
oh, yeah, all the, yeah, we still better August, so we got, we're back in July and August and June, but, so I really like to get that. Basically, one the other day, that said they like to, somebody supports on the first.
Community and some out here. So we do what I am, this, this, or that program.
So yeah, to Mary. Hey, Kim,
Where are you?
oh, well, we'll say that, I can really enjoy.
Can I put you in a print?
Um,
Can I put you in a print? And you actually enjoy it?
that way we have. And then, and then I go to first. And then, also, do the, not next year.
Yeah, there's more excellent than you. What's it going to be? That's right.
That's a pretty, and then also like my efforts in them, it's really. Or. And I would take that. But you know, a lot, not a lot, even here, and five. So I have some people. Oh, it's only have to like.
Chief Criminal joined. Scott?
Christmas, growing up, I'm sort of a middle child. I had a younger brother, me, my older brother, and then my sister, so there were four. One thing that we look back right now that bothered me probably all the way through high school, from young child, in the Lane family was we don't set up a Christmas tree until Christmas Eve. And then no present for anything until Christmas. So we would set up a Christmas tree on Christmas Eve. And then my mom was the pianist for me. We would do Christmas carols. And we lived on farm, we didn't have anybody close by, so we just all did it as a family. So that's a later memory that we still yeah, we didn't know. Yeah. Well, the only thing I had as far as not there, well, by the end of this month, I think, now, and check with Trek. Verify. So, I always so it's like Isaac that was the first. Restaurant, enabled and it's first thing with the job. But I always Hamilton, first of all, if you get a chance, thank Angie. They taking care of us. We did give them a little Christmas something just to thank them for their support, but they, they really kind of take care of us behind the scenes. And really good. I don't know how long, there's a noticeable difference. One time, some people, I was working 2 friends particularly, kind of carrying 100-year, remember the book forward, but she's continuing to inch that forward. We haven't got about it. Probably be the first forward. I do really promote that social out in the gym. So you get a chance, it's a big have a couple of craft beers. I think what we talked about was they've been 2 drinks on Rotary. Yeah. We're going to straight. Yeah. Two of the things let you know about John, really helpful. We had a few of us get together to talk about it, but she has investigated the idea of some technology support. We kind of hit a miss with the laptop, kind of hit a miss with the projectors. So we just thought, let's at least think about investing in some technology support. So these are rough, that's what you all consider approved, just a little bit more in this case. But she researched, so it's 70-inch, 70-inch LG Smart TV, 400 million dollars. Probably like $5,000 20 years ago. But it's a good thing. So that's fairly. A lapel mic, which we need $30. A camera, which would help to facilitate the virtual, $42. a clicker, which. So clicker is $50.50. Computer pad, $20. A TV stand, $200. A laptop, a Dell Latitude is $227. But it will be more for that just in case you upgrade that.
Right, you can have to.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and that, the audio now, and I'm back and get you. That, I'm getting it's function on the line. The computer store, whatever. You get, you have a problem. I'm not sure I'm going to. Okay, we first. Yeah. And, recording the music. That it has around, I don't know.
so I'm asking to send this around, so if I can kind of see, she's got very detailed, a list of everything, if you would take a look at. If you have suggestions, we talked about splitting the cost of the TV. Those other two city clubs that make your maybe. So you can really, it's a country club, you can like this. Yeah.
That's definitely.
So, I guess country club next week. So what I'm gonna ask, total for that about $1,000. I was gonna ask you all if you would consider for the $1,500 for every one.
Yeah. Because you get it during the weekend. Yeah, so, I mean, I would have
Okay. So, $1,000. All opposed? $1,000. Watch it, we'll make sure trying to receive it.
$16.
That's a great. The TV, a soundbar, and it's amazing how easy it is to actually set up. You don't have to enter anything. It pops up, that's done. And everything syncs and the soundbar might be. Yeah. Something that goes. It's not perfect. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So, I did have one issue we've been asking to discuss in executive session. Can I hear a motion to go into executive session? Motion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed. So I guess we're gonna have to ask. No, I think we would. Thank you. One of the meetings, so. I heard what you said, I'm gonna make sure you, so the budget is named on the president. And it actually goes one nation under God instead of one nation.
Yeah. Just a little controversy out there, you can Google it and figure it out. See, but it's non phrase, put a comment in between one issue and another.
So. Are we doing one, take it from the situation?
we have a group, Rotary Youth Town. And we have asked people to be nominated, students be nominated by the that is the principal of the school. And at that point, and then some of the and there will be different situations. And you might maybe forward, right? You know, 6 or 7. And so that's for that. There's just too much for him years afterwards. But we had like this is fighting came up in 2012, 2013 Rotary year. And so the woman actually called you first, the mother called you first, and I was nice enough to give her my number. Said, well, where did my daughter feel now? Get her scholarship. Well, she wasn't selected. And then what she had, what she made copies of, happens to be the application for the scholarship. And she gave me what the principal said, she gave me what, she had written down to the water. And we kind of just do that. Records, we did not select this person. So she saying that her child was a really good student, went along with everything that we asked up. Yeah, but basically the kids, school district to give you grades for the kids and everything. So now we're sitting with this other thing that that kid is a good student, he is a good student. And so, we talk about this. It's like young people going on and that Rotary, she might feel people giving their education thing. So that's not the way to do it. So it has to be, and this copy I have what the principal said for a 6-year-old. And she said, only one of the top academically, social, and character qualities, students in the entire grade. That's the principle of not fair. I that he did not want us to. The letter to say thank you for applying.
So let's see. Anyway, what did they do in mind? The kid's family has thought for 12 years.
Yes.
So they have a scholarship.
It is fine.
So, and you may have said it, so her child's current status is that she's a great student,
Yeah.
she's a leader, she's all those things that we would hope.
How many applicants,
I'm not sure how many, we usually got, I mean, 10, 15. 5, 6.
and what I'm trying to get at is,
Yeah.
and anything like this, if we can, we can hopefully go back and say, these applied, And then, we had our first round of cuts that didn't make it because of this, and then the selected because of whatever, metrics you want to say, so that it's strictly objective when you get to the end. Because, I mean, she may be worthy of help, but then, like you said, is the next one also, and the next one, the next one. And then you have one point that if you're not selected, we need to make sure that we let find anything else, just like the job or.
I don't think you did that.
So,
Notification process.
I agree with what I think Pat said. I think we give them, but I think there needs to be a very important letter stating the fact that although she was not selected, we recognize her achievement.
Right, exactly.
So, but maybe the point is she's not selected. I think it's important to give it a check.
Right, because it was, I mean, we're not dealing with and recognizing for 4 years. I mean,
Right.
spreadsheet.
Right.
Now, how many people we've had to. Sure. 2 kids graduating this year, we got 3, and then one. Right.
so two.
Well, something, one of yeah. Now, I kind of. I think go back for. They. Yeah, great looking for it, because that's a good point, because you, with the program, it's good for it. But there you go. Right, please,
Because you was, it's like an expectation that you feel like maybe it's with another.
well, maybe, I felt that. It's just, I think we're applying for,
Motion second, all fair side. All opposed. Let's go to executive session. Motion to go to executive session. Yeah.
And you don't have to do one money to executive session, right? But we have to take there. That we get.
Right. And disclose the conclusion documents.
$1,000. Now, we've been giving for the base. So we do the same amount.
Yeah, okay. That's good record.
Yeah.
So, motion to come out of executive session. Motion second, all fair side. Carries. So now, it's a motion.
$50,000 to the state. There's that. Anything that's been covered. That worked out better than the program.
Yeah.
Particularly the program. Yeah.
Okay, I understand, because now this program is going for board, you know, like 2 years, right? But I want to be there, like whether we do something with, I know we do but that's not, that's not the other government countries, not the kids, they have, they do. Yeah. But I think we should be, we know the list, we know that, we've got to do something to pick up.
So once you look at the speaker, the foundation, you can make it one plan. Where we're not going to use, you make a donation, you want to know what needs to be used, so it needs to be.
That's nice, we're doing that with the yeah.
Can we think about it? But I'm here.
So, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we were together,
You know, I'll speak today in our university and emphasis on it and the others. Stand in such stark contrast with months ago when you had students stand up and say, we just like it first. Maybe it's just me, but our emphasis on pre-K through third and literacy, learning how to read, what do you say, don't learn how to read, you can't how to learn. So that we don't call the herd from pre-K until college, and so many in that time period get to a point where college is no longer feasible to help a larger portion of those that are young make through and matriculate through our education. So they get that get college back.
did that was none.
I'll call it, we'll get into the, now, yeah. What is the point of that? That's, I don't think that. That's very general right now. So that's the thing. Yeah. Okay, a couple things from Kelsey. We're doing pretty well with that. We're consistently at the 50 mark. Kind of the water will do at 75. Then we need to be thinking about the system, keep track of charging members of the yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what we need to do.
about it, or you call it the person did it. I don't know, haven't already, if it included a lunch too. Just a thought, thinking about.
So we can move forward with this, but I agree with you, that, you know. Yeah. There's no sense in the land. I mean, you know, people have to move forward.
Or something. Right
All right.
Yeah. Okay, that.
Yeah. How do we, a memory of Roger Drury.
So you're. I didn't give her. What? Are we still on? I know, I shut it. I know it didn't pick up any of that, what we were saying, so.